Thank you.
I should say that I've taught a number of your books here at Grand Valley State University. My students revere them, and so do I.
Thank you.
You've been a very eloquent critic of empire throughout your career, and as a young man, I admired you a great deal for it. Are you prepared to admit now that the United States adventure in Iraq is also an adventure in imperial activity? You asked this audience what a person who acts as if God is on their side acts like, and I would suggest to you that that person acts much like the candidate you supported in 2004, George W. Bush, in particular as regards the adventure in Iraq.
Yes. No, I quite understand your point, and my response would be the following, and I hope you're ready for it. And
I'll do my best.
And those who did that clapping thing that they still haven't, is this: everything the United States has done in Iraq has been imperial. Since 1968, at least. When the Central Intelligence Agency claims that it helped install the Saddam Hussein wing of the Ba'ath Party, follow me here, not just the Ba'ath Party, bad enough, a fascist party with some Stalinist inflections, but the Saddam Hussein wing of it in power in Baghdad. That's how the CIA claimed to have acted in 1968. The United States was still an empire in 1974 when Henry Kissinger promised the Iraqi Kurds American support in their fight against Saddam Hussein with the backing of the Shah of Iran and Israel, and didn't tell them that he was about to sell them out when Saddam Hussein and the Shah of Iran were going to make a handshake over their dead bodies. That was just as imperial. It was, the United States was an empire when Jimmy Carter gave a green light to Saddam Hussein to invade Iran in 1980, and told them that with American intelligence supplied by satellite through Saudi Arabia, that they would achieve a swift victory over the Iranians and probably recover the Arabic-speaking territories of Khuzestan, of Persia, for Iraqi control. That war, we reckon, I've been to the cemeteries in Iran and in Baghdad of that war, probably not less than 1.5 million casualties. I haven't factored in all the casualties. All of these were imperial. In other words, if the United States is either imperial or it isn't, if it is, it's just as imperial not to intervene in Iraq and to leave the status quo the way it is, as it is to intervene. In 2003, for the first time I know about, the United States intervened in Iraq on the right side. And I'm proud of having advocated that policy. Okay? I knew I wouldn't get any applause. But I just want you to know that's what I think is the distinction. No. Hold. Please, that's the distinction. Now, there was not to intervene would have been just as imperialist. And that was the attitude that Kissinger, Scowcroft, Bush Sr., Pat Buchanan, and the other elements of the conservative and imperialist right did advocate, because these are the Saudi lobby who are the core of imperialism in my hometown of Washington. They said, no, leave Saddam Hussein as the buffer state. We like things the way they are. Don't you tell me that's a non-interventionist policy, okay? And don't tell yourself that, because you're letting yourself and your MoveOn.org friends off much too lightly, okay? Voila.
It seems to me to be fairly simple that to launch an aggressive war is different from not launching an aggressive war. And if you can't tell the difference, then it's difficult to know where to begin. But I think I was accused of casuistry a few minutes ago, and I think I can now return the accusation.
Well, do you think that intelligent design is an argument, a case that has merit?
Yes, I think it's an interesting skeptical current, and I think that it deserves to be discussed fairly. It's interesting in my country, you can go into almost any bookshop and the shelves are groaning with the works of Richard Dawkins, denouncing the terrible people who think that just maybe possibly the theory of evolution may have some faults. You cannot find, try as you may, a single book which can give you any idea of what it is that Professor Dawkins is attacking. It's not allowed. No publisher will publish it. No bookshop will stock it. It seems to me it's an interesting thing to be discussed. no idea how the realm of nature took its present shape, nor has he, nor has you. Nor have you. Nobody has. We don't know. It's something which is open to discussion. As a skeptical current, it's interesting, and I think it's one of the other things which is fascinating is the way in which what I might call the Darwinist lobby exults currently over the recent court case in which it managed to suppress any teaching of the existence of the theory of intelligent design. Now, the case which the Darwinists used to exult over, quite rightly, was the Scopes case, so ably misrepresented in the film Inherit the Wind, in which it was the boneheaded, literal, Bible literalist creationists who were attempting to suppress the teaching of Darwinism. And the evolutionists quite rightly defeated that in court and exulted over it. Now they're exulting over the suppression of what somebody else wants to say. That seems to me to be a strange transformation and a very telling one. And it is the intolerance and rage of the Darwinists against any expression of skepticism, however cautious, scientifically based and well qualified, which actually makes me wonder whether the ID people may not have a point.
Well, I mean, I think there is a ghost of a point there, but it's only this ghost. It's the following. That evolution occurred is conclusively verified by the record of molecular biology and of the fossil record. There has never been an article in any peer-reviewed journal, and there never will be, to say to the contrary. However, that's only to say that it did occur. How it occurred is not something that's completely consensual, and the Darwinian theory of natural selection is only so far the least contested of those explanations. And Stephen Jay Gould, for example, of whom I was something of a friend and a great admirer, and Richard Dawkins, who's also a friend of mine, had a tremendous disagreement, still do, posthumous in the case of now, about punctuated evolution, about the steps by which this occurred. But that it occurred is not to be doubted. And thus the idea that there can be equal time for the opposite theory in a science class is as false as to say, well, children, the chemistry period is over, now after the break we'll be doing our alchemy class. Or your astronomy teacher is off today, but your astrology alternate can check in. Nonsense. And when President Bush says we should teach the argument, I'm with him, if he's sincere, because everything I know about the Darwin argument comes from two great set-piece debates. One in Oxford in the late Victorian epoch between Bishop Wilberforce and Thomas Huxley, the inventor of the term agnostic, about Darwinism, and the second in Tennessee in the 1920s, even more famous. But if the president wants that, and he wants his faith-based initiative, then every church that gets a subsidy or a grant must also teach Darwinism. Equal time. Is that what the president wants? I am sure I know the answer to that.